Unprecedented. The new normal. We're pivoting to virtual. You're on mute. The event will start in 3 hours, 45 minutes. These are just a few of the common phrases we've become accustomed to over the last year in the virtual event world. Of course, virtual events aren't new, but traditionally they've been a secondary execution of a live event, typically no more than a video stream. Thankfully, fast-tracked technological and creative innovations have developed in record time over the last year, ensuring our virtual experiences are altogether more bearable. But will the virtual events last post-pandemic? They were given the opportunity during the global economic crisis of 2008-9, when travel bans were imposed by corporations, but they didn't really last then. So why would they last post-COVID? Allow me to take you on a journey from when the pandemic first hit, early 2020, and the era of virtual 1.0 kicked in, and how things moved very, very quickly to virtual 2.0, which arguably is where we are today still, and what the expectations thereafter are going to be in the future for what many are referring to as the hybrid era. Let me start with virtual 1.0. The early days of 2020 saw some quick fix virtual solutions, which soon led to phrases such as Zoom fatigue, but some critical learnings were made. First of all, don't try and emulate a conference or convention center space with guests navigating through the space as they would a live event, but using their mouse. At least don't try and do that unless you have the budget to create something akin to Fortnite or similar serious 3D world. Number two, don't think about having the CEO present a keynote in his home office with dusty bookshelves as a backdrop is okay, because it's not. Home film kits actually have improved this somewhat, but seeing an executive in their home comfy wear and whose children intimately appear stage left has certainly or definitely worn off. Number three, don't run the agenda as a mirror of a live event. Sitting in front of your laptop screen for a full day agenda can't be the experience anyone really yearns for. And number four, don't make the mistake of trying to get lots of speakers to join at once, akin to an online webinar. These aren't events. They're designed for participatory video meetings, not for watching. Let's talk about virtual 2.0. I think it's testament to the people working in the event industry just how quickly virtual events have evolved and improved. In technology terms, we've probably leapt several years ahead, which has been a welcome benefit in an otherwise horrible period. Whilst double unicorn status was achieved from startups, virtual platforms such as Hopin in a matter of months, I think currently they're valued around about $5 billion and only a year old. It's really been the ingenuity and the creativity of event producers that have defined virtual 2.0. For example, you may feel that we're sitting here in my swanky Hong Kong office overlooking the harbour, but instead I'm sitting in a box on the other side of the island of Hong Kong. Amazing. And then we have developed ways of bringing people together in the flesh. Who are you? No, who are you? Go away, go on, go shoot. But it's not just technology that has evolved to deliver. We've learned very quickly, retraining ourselves to operate, I suppose, more like film producers and content creators. Strategically, we've developed a framework, a sort of checklist to keep our virtual event solutions on track. And we call this the 4 Ps. Those Ps stand for people, presentation, participation, and performance. Let me first talk about the people side of it. It's important to remember that we're all in the business of creating experiences, and experiences are built around people. We therefore need to understand and get under the skin of the audience, what they're like, what they dislike, will respond well to, what will irritate them or what will distract them. Being able to provide the right content to people that are stuck at home with their families is make or break for an effective event whose guests are remote. Instead of 3 days of non-stop content, think of creating the experience around the needs of the audience. Like, for example, shorter content snippets, just an hour or two per day, spread out to allow people to do other things. Using other forms of technology is another idea. For example, audio is actually a really good alternative. It allows participants to engage away from their computers or trading computer screens, for example, for TVs to make the experience more akin to their home environment. Content on demand has proven to be easier to consume rather than forcing participants to follow a strict event agenda as they would at a live event. And that's an important point as well. Let's talk about presentation. They've always said content is king, and that couldn't be more true for virtual events. Whilst many brands were perhaps a little flat-footed to begin with, Virtual 2.0 has seen corporate virtual events become shows, but I suppose more akin to television than an event. Excellence in broadcast has shone through. Camera angles, the use of tracking cameras, ability to use extended reality stages or sets built purely for broadcast, even the inclusion of entertainment pieces to draw and shackle. Many of our clients have engaged headline acts such as and as diverse as Elton John, Sting, Lenny Kravitz, Metallica, the Foo Fighters, pulling together people into a virtual studio whilst they're miles apart, as I demonstrated earlier, is a really new and ingenious way of doing things. Have a look at this clip. You'll see how realistic the presenters are, and it looks like they're talking directly to one another, yet one of them is beamed in from a studio way, way away, in fact, probably from their front room, dressed with a green screen. This trick has become quite commonplace in the Virtual 2.0 era. Let's talk about participation. A good virtual experience will have what we call lean back as well as lean forward experiences. I suppose it's sort of a watch and a participate. The off-the-shelf platforms may have standardized interactive tools set within them, such as, I suppose, chat and voting, polling, for example, but these still are very underdeveloped with the virtual platforms available on the market currently. There's definitely the weakest part of the virtual platforms out there right now, and we're hopeful this will start to change wholesale. This will be imperative if virtual platforms are to survive in the forthcoming hybrid era. Imagine the opportunity, for example, a mobile phone offers as a second screen for interacting with content you may be watching on your computer screen or on stage from the audience, for example, sometime in the near future. Being able to overlay AR content, being able to buy as you see from a connected e-commerce site, being able to take deeper dives into topics being discussed on the HOC or live, or read speaker bios as they're actually physically speaking. The opportunities really are endless, but we're not there yet. The virtual platforms really need to step up on this. Let's talk about performance. Well, look, physical analytics have always been hard in the event space. But with virtual and hybrid events, we now have the tools and the data sets available, thanks to digital, to measure the effectiveness of our work. We expect participants will be expecting data-enhanced experience, meaning more personalized, more need-centric, and more informed agendas, for example, and experiences based on their personal preferences and profile. I suppose it's much in the same way as we have already become accustomed to with the web. We also expect event owners and brands will demand better data insights and analytics. The opportunity to drive better sales and better event results by adjusting the experiences to the data-informed needs of participants is an opportunity way too good to miss. A word of warning, though. Remember, the event, regardless of the medium, needs to be about the experience and not about the data. The experience needs to be defined and driven by the needs of the people, not the performance. Experience first, data second. I suppose a happy consequence. And finally, to achieve all of this, agencies are going to have to make step changes and upskill. Very much so. We need to stay focused on being creatively led, don't get me wrong, but with data armbands. Finally, let me talk about hybrid for a sec. In April 2020, I wrote an article focused on how virtual events will lead to hybrid events. I actually feel that many of those observations are now becoming reality. For example, number one, the ability virtual technologies have to reach far wider audiences than live events ever will. Number two, the ability for virtual technologies have to collect actionable data, as we've just discussed, and properly measure the effectiveness of events. Thirdly, the need to protect the environment. This is something that's become top of mind with populations, but also obviously with corporations. There's increased pressures on corporations to avoid unnecessarily business travel, meaning demand for remote participation will be increased. The development of interactive technologies, bringing experiences between watching the stage and watching the screens closer, are and will continue to be developed. And here lies the Holy Grail. Why would you fly thousands of miles to an event if you can enjoy a similar experience from the comfort of your home or your office? In markets that have pandemic under control, governments are actually quite quick to reopen with events and the travel sector in support of the economy. However, brands, in our experience, are remaining cautious. Nobody wants to be remembered as the brand that held the first super spreader event. In places like China, we're seeing live events returning, albeit with smaller capacities, and some but not all will be classed as hybrid. Time will tell, of course, but my belief is that live events will return as the principal medium, but it's very likely that many will become hybrid, both live and virtual, for all the reasons we've mentioned. So why do we need live events, I hear you say? Well, humans are humans after all. We're inherently social animals. That is until technology replaces us all with sensory avatars that live in a world akin to the Matrix movie franchise. But I'd argue that's a science fiction future well beyond where we are currently. Till that time, let's just get hybrid and live events right. Thank you.